Okay, good evening. Sorry about the late start, but let's get tonight's meeting, Thursday, April 11th. Meeting underway. We'll start with a roll call here real quick. Tonight's meeting, we have Sarah Hugo, Andy Andre, Dolores Coulter, thank you. Myself, Larry Anderson, Paul Bush, and Jay Hoffman, sorry. Absent are Jay Johnson, Dan Gillings, and Mike Yancho. So I for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Okay.
Yeah.
All right. I'm going to start the meeting off with public comment. This be general public comment. If anybody has anything to bring to the commission that's unrelated to the adult foster care facility, this would be the time to address the board for that. So if anybody has anything to speak of, other than that, which you'll have a separate time to speak to, please come forward now. No, all here for that. Okay, well, with that and public comments out of the way. Approval of the minutes for tonight's meeting.
I'll make a motion.
Okay, motion by Sarah Hugo.
Second.
Okay, second Mandy. Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Approval of minutes from March 7th, 2024, and approval of tonight's agenda.
Mr. Chairman, I'd like to make a modification if I could.
Yes.
We could move item B, Tech Village zoning ordinance changes to the third item on the agenda and move up the public hearing for the text amendment on the industrial parking spaces, move that up to B.
Okay,
So special land use first, public hearing for the industrial parking second, then Tech Village zoning ordinance, and then text amendment discussion.
okay. I can do that. Anybody have a motion for that as amended?
So moved.
Okay. Move. And support by Paul Bush. Okay. All in favor?
Aye.
Okay, great. And any correspondence tonight, Jeremy?
None outside of the special land use. You do have a couple. You have one in front of you plus one that was included in your packet of a residence in opposition of the special land use.
Saw both of those. Okay. And we have no old business, so that brings us to item 7, which is new business. And that's going to be special land use 24-001, public hearing for special land use at 5079 Spinning Wheel Drive for adult foster care facility in R3 residential. So, want to start this one off? Jeremy, do you want to kind of read this one off for us? And
You want the applicants to go first? Or you want me to go first?
you can bring the applicants up first.
Okay. Yep.
Best, okay. Let's call the applicants up for that one, and if I'm not mistaken, I have the name here. Eric Ford? Eric, okay. Sorry about that delay, I had to look up your name.
Good evening. Good evening. My name is Eric Ford. This is Lindsay Ford. Okay. I started my medical journey in 2004 as a nurse aide. I've seen a lot of different things, and the main thing I seen was the patient ratio to worker ratio. So it was like 1 to 24. So when you go in the hospital, sometimes you feel like you don't get seen, you don't get the proper treatment, you don't get the proper care. And I was getting a lot of that from my patients. A lot of complaining, a lot of, I'm not coming back to this hospital, just a lot of complaining. And I seen a lot also coming from big facilities, big nursing homes. I've seen diaper rashes, just patients coming in dirty, patients coming in with bed sores, malnourishment. And what it did for me is it just put something in my heart to where I just wanted to take care of the elderly. A lot of elderly are not paid attention to. They walk by, it's a lot of times we just don't pay attention to them. And what I want to do is bring it to a smaller scale. For special care services, it'll be 5 patients to 1 worker. So there, you get a lot of care for the patient. Whatever the patient need, you there for them. And that's what I wanted to do. So I've been working in healthcare for 20 years. I started off as a nurse aide, and then I worked my way up. I'm a respiratory therapist as of right now. So my wife wanted.
Just a little bit about the business. Forest Special Care Services is a faith-based facility dedicated to the uniqueness, safety, dignity, and well-being of our residents. We will welcome both male and female residents to a private living setting. We will provide exceptional customer care with all activities of daily living, services provided, smoke-free environment around the clock, on-call medical doctor. We have an on-call RN, occupational therapy, direct care supervision, supervised medication administration. We have a virtual pharmacy, physical therapy, and in-home doctor visits. We will do hospice care and respite care. Our mission is to provide a safe environment that fosters love for God, respect for family, respect for life with the highest standards of care will be practiced. We perform compassionate health care, which allows for us to empower our residents to reach their fullest potential spiritually, intellectually, emotionally, socially, and physically. We provide 24-hour supervision and protection and assure that all our residents who live in our home enjoy a high quality of life. As Eric said, our staff ratio is 1 direct care worker to 5 patients. We have a round-the-clock on-call nurse that's available 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. The residents that come to us must be compatible with other residents and workers in the household. We cannot accommodate certain persons with mental or psychiatric disorders or any patients with behavior management issues. We will not accept any patients that require isolation or physical restraint. Anyone who has a prior or present diagnosis of drug or alcohol abuse. We won't accept any patients who need 24-hour nursing care, as we don't have the capacity to help those students. We are state licensed for 5 beds for men and women who are aged, traumatic brain injury, or Alzheimer's. And we have passed all training and licensing requirements and inspections by the state of Michigan, and we received our state licensing on March 6th of this year.
So first to get public comment, you want to start with the board questions first?
You want me to give my review first?
Give us your report and
Okay.
first.
Yep. So this is special land use 24-0001, 5079 Spinning Wheel. It is single-family residential. The adult foster care facility is regulated as a special land use and requires approval for the business to operate in the residential setting. There are 7 items that a group daycare or group foster care home is required per ordinance. The first one is there shouldn't be another facility within 1,500 feet of this one. From my research, this item has been met. The facility shall operate at a maximum of 16 hours per day. That is a blanket statement that only applies to, it doesn't apply to this facility within a residential setting if they're providing 24-hour care. The adult foster care also shall be used, the registered use shall be with the township and current documentation of a valid license. This item has been met. Applicant shall submit verification of compliance with state and fire codes. This has been met. Property shall be maintained consistent with the visible characteristics of the neighborhood. This has been met. Sign regulations, signs will require a separate permit through planning and zoning, my office. And number 7, adequate off-street parking shall be provided for all employees and adequate off-street spaces shall be provided for visitors of the patients, and this item has been also met. Planning and Zoning Department would support a recommendation for approval based on the following reasons. Number 1, the requested special land use is compatible with surrounding land uses. And number 2, the requested special land use standards for adult foster care facility have been met.
I think probably the next thing we would do then would be to open it up to public comment. And then
Public comment, or you've got the letters the 2 letters.
read the letters first, okay, for those in record.
Yep.
Yep, okay, I'll do that. Okay, you guys can have a seat. Thank you very much. All right. I'll start then the first letter, which I think you all received in your packet from Rebecca. I'm gonna hope I don't tear this up too much. Philippi, 5085 Spinning Wheel Drive. Dear Planning and Zoning Department, my name is Rebecca Philippi, and I live with my husband and 2 toddlers at 5085 Spinning Wheel Drive, Grand Blanc, Michigan. I received a postcard in the mail that my neighbor at 5079 Spinning Wheel Drive has submitted a special land use application for an adult foster care facility, and I would like to submit my formal objection to this application. I just bought my home in 2022, and I never would have chosen to live here if I had known my neighbors just 20 feet away would be an adult foster care facility. My very serious concern is for the safety of my 3-year-old and 1-year-old sons. I do not believe having a house of revolving troubled adults next door is a safe environment to raise my children. I would never feel safe, and I would never be able to relax in my own home. Aside from just my own children, my neighbor has many more young school-age children. The bus stop for whom is about 50 feet from 5079 Spinning Wheel Drive, and for that reason, as well, I do not believe this is a safe use of the land in our neighborhood. I would also like to note that as a young woman, I would not feel safe personally either, although my main concern is for my children. If my neighbors are granted this special land use, I will absolutely have to move, which is not something I can easily afford at this time. But I would see no other option, considering my children's safety is my greatest concern in life. I understand these facilities are necessary and do valuable work within the community, but I believe they should find a location that isn't in a neighborhood that is so heavily populated with young children. My neighbors at 5079 have already proven to me that they are not responsible landowners. I have already complained to the Grand Blanc Township Zoning and Planning Department about them because their sump pump was set up to drain directly into my backyard, which makes my yard muddy and swampy and unsafe for my kids to play in. This act of carelessness proves that they are both irresponsible and inconsiderate, and therefore I would not trust these landowners to keep control of troubled adults so close to my children. So again, if this goes through, I'll have no choice but to leave the neighborhood I love and enjoy watching my 2 babies grow up. Again, Rebecca Philippi. So I think all of you have that.
Mr. Chairman,
Yeah.
that last paragraph, just so the board's aware, planning and zoning, code enforcement has been out to that site, and that issue has been rectified.
That issue has been resolved. Okay, great. Great. Okay. Next one we have is email from Gloria Beeman to Jeremy Smith and the Planning Commission. It says, hi, we live at 5053 Spinning Wheel Lane, just around the corner from 5079 Spinning Wheel Drive, where they want to put an adult foster home. We are opposed to this because we have a lot of great grandkids who spend a lot of time at our house, and there are several houses on our street with young children who play outside, weather permitting, and kids getting off the school bus right near Wishing Well and Spinning Wheel on the corner. We do not feel this neighborhood is a good place for an adult foster facility. Thank you for allowing us to give our opinion and disagree with this plan. Robert and Gloria Beeman. Okay, that's the 2 letters we have. Now, at this time, if anybody in the audience, sorry.
Paul.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Before we go to the audience, I'm looking at the zoning ordinance, R3 Single Family Residential. Excuse me. Item B7, as a principal permitted use, is adult foster care family home. Under C, special land use, item 1 is adult foster care small group home. So I guess my question is for Jeremy or for Andy, our planner. Can we define that so the people in the audience can be clear of what's permitted and then what's a special land use? Because they both seem real similar.
So I was gonna say, I can take this or you can take it. The difference is The reason for the special land use is because the applicants do not live, this is not their primary residence. That's the difference. This would be a permitted use if they live at the residence.
So to be clear, if they were full-time residents there, this wouldn't even be before us today.
Correct.
Thank you.
Chairman, I have a question of the applicant, if I could take that question now or later.
You as well, or? Okay.
Okay, I noticed on your license, you have a temporary license, and it says expiration date of September 6th of this year. Are there any other steps that you have to take before you can get a permanent license?
No, they'll come back in 6 months and do another inspection to make sure we're still following code, and then they'll extend us another year license.
Okay, but until you get the final license, you can't start accepting residents.
Start accepting patients after we're approved for the zoning permit.
They can't move in until, okay.
As the public is going to want to come up and talk, I think it would be fair to give you a heads up. You said that it's permitted. Once the state has done this, it's a little bit more on our case that it's not only permitted, we don't have an avenue to deny on these issues. So just know that when you come up in the letters that were written and when you chat, if we don't look like we are hearing you, we're also bound by rules and regulations that the state requires us to do. So please know that as you're discussing things with us, we are bound to make decisions by the law. We have to take our emotions out of it and do what we have been tasked to do along those lines. I actually called earlier about issues, how do I say this? Issues that are happening, code enforcements, ordinances and things of that nature. That's a different issue. If there's something that's happening wrong, then we do have the capability to go in and say, you got to tweak this, you got to change this, and things of that nature. But the actual approval of this, after those 7 steps are made, it's pretty tight and kind of out of our hands. I just thought I'd give you a heads up because I did not want you to think that we're not hearing what you're saying today. We just have to balance that to what we have to do by rule and regulation. I just thought that was fair for you to know that before going into chatting today.
Okay. All right, I'm going to start, I guess, with this side of the room here, and what we're going to do is you have to come up to the podium and state your name and address, and we gave you 3 minutes to address the planning commission because there's a lot of people here, I'm sure have something to speak, and at 3 minutes, if you're still, I'll just kind of give you a nod, and if you can wrap it up at that point, okay? So we'll start in the back row on this side. Sir, you guys have anything to say? Okay, come on up.
Mr. Anderson, the name and address, rules and regulations have changed,
Okay.
but it is a public hearing, so that applies here, but on other instances, the name and address, just so you're aware, we can't require it.
Well, because-
Public hearing, yes.
So this is
You're correct.
required. Thank you. Okay. All right,
Okay.
go ahead.
I am Lori Akey, and I have lived at 5114 Wishing Well since 2006. I don't really like a business in my neighborhood. It's not a business area. I'm afraid my property values are going to go down. I'm going to pay more taxes because we're going to finally get some better roads. And I did not realize when I got the postcard that says this is a public hearing that there's nothing you can really do, because that doesn't make me happy either. So, and I've been in healthcare since the late 90s. I know how people get taken care of. Sometimes it's not good. But just because I understand they're trying to do something good, but there's better places to do it. And when you drive through like more rural areas in busier roads, you see adult foster care signs. There's one on Bray Road, there's one on Richfield Road. This is not the place for their business. Thank you.
I'm sorry, Mr. Chairman, if I can mention one more thing. It's not that your voice isn't important, please, when I say those type of things. And by having the applicant know of what's happening here, that's basically signaling to, hey, we're going to be mindful of how you're operating there, and the eyes are going to be on it. So speaking out tonight is that's what I was trying to say was, our hands are tied with some things, but please come and chat. This is important information, so your voice is appreciated.
Sir?
Good evening. My name is Stephen Lando. I'm the Philippines attorney. My practice is in Novi. As you know from the letter, they vehemently oppose the Ford's application. While they supported it with many platitudes, the real issue comes down to what is it that they do with that property? Well, if you went by that property, as I did this evening, you'd find, I should have counted, but there have to be at least a half dozen, if not 10, piles of garbage on the west side of the house. It's how the house is maintained. The fact that they ran a sump pump hose onto the lot line on my client's property is indicative of what kind of people they are and how they will run their business, which is going to be a continual problem. This is not, with all respect, Mr. Hoffman, the board isn't a rubber stamp. There is some leeway that you have. What we've seen here is they don't maintain the property. There's no place for off-street parking, leaving aside the fact the road is a mess, and eventually it's going to have to be repaved. That's not the issue. Where are they going to put cars? They've told us that they're going to put 5 residents in this place around the clock. That means that there are going to be at least 3 helpers in 8-hour shifts. Where are those people going to park? What's going to happen? And I'll tell you, I expect that if this is approved, what actually is going to happen is the health department is going to take over and spend who knows how much money of the county's budget in watching out what's going on there. This is a disaster for this small neighborhood. This is not a wealthy neighborhood. I'm sure you're all very familiar with it. Everyone is struggling to maintain their homes except the Ford residents. Now, I don't know if they're living there now or when they were last there, but you can't leave property the way they're leaving it and then say, oh, everything's going to be hunky-dory. We have all these wonderful things. We have all of these great plans. That's just platitudes and talk. And I believe it's your obligation to seriously look at this. And I was unaware that there had been some determination with regard to off-street parking, which I would like the opportunity to see at some point in time before there's approval. I don't think it's possible. And the fact that they don't maintain the property in a good repair, at least visibly, and that they would run a sump pump hose or a sump pump to someone else's property suggests a very cavalier attitude. That attitude is going to bleed over into everything. To the extent that you can, you should deny this. Regardless, I want the opportunity before you approve this, if you're agreeable, to see exactly what the determination was for off-street parking and how it was made. Again, I think this is going to be a disaster for this neighborhood, and you should not permit it. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay. Anybody else on this side of the auditorium? Yes, please come forward, sir.
Hello. My name is Marcus Johnson. I stay at 5181 Millwheel. I'm right around the corner from Mr. Ford's house. I will honestly say that nobody that I know of, and I talk to my neighbors, is struggling to keep their house. So I'm going to decline that part right there that we're struggling, because Lord knows He's blessed me and I'm not struggling. Praise God. I am a respiratory therapist as well. So I have honestly seen in my lifetime, especially during COVID, and and before COVID and after COVID, of people struggling as the numbers began to increase inside of a hospital and the numbers began to decrease as workers. So the natural number ratio in a hospital is supposed to be 1 to 4. The number in a nursing home is usually 1 to about 20. So for us to only have 5 beds in this house, and to say that it'll be an 8-hour shift, there's no 8-hour shifts usually in nursing homes as well as hospitals. We do 12-hour shifts. So at that same time, those patients will get the care that they need. As far as the housing and the way that it looks around the house, I'm quite sure that if it was an issue, the state wouldn't have approved it. I'm quite sure that if it was an issue, that somebody would have came out there and say, no, this is not going to work, and you need to tweak this and tweak that and tweak this, as you guys have already said. So I don't believe that this will be a problem. In a community, our job is to love one another, to support one another, to encourage one another. But he's bringing this type of community ideal inside of a household. And he's showing care for those that are elderly that are usually forgotten about. A lot of times you go in and we see patients on the floor. We see patients that have failed or have gotten sick, or that their family members don't even come to see them. But in a household that's only 5 beds, you have one caregiver as well as an RT on staff, as well as other people that are also on staff to help bring this kind of compassion and this type of love to these patients. I don't see how we could go wrong with it, because this is the job of a community, is to take care of one another, and he is bringing that inside of a household. That's all I have. Thank you.
Thank you. Anybody else on this side of the room tonight? No? Okay, I'll start on this side of the room with the back row. Next, and address the board, okay?
Good evening. My name is Linda Matthews, and I just wanted to comment on the gentleman that spoke about the house not being kept up. I'd like the record to show that that is not true. The house is kept up very nice. I drive by it every day. As a matter of fact, the house on the right side of the house has boards and things on the side of their house that could be a danger to their, that could be a danger to their children if they have any. So I just wanted to make that point.
Okay, thank you. Okay. Being on this side of the room, back row there? No? Okay. Next row forward? Yes, thank you.
Hi, my name is Kimberly Bohr. I live at 5073 Spinning Wheel Drive. I live next door to the Forts. First of all, I commend them for what they want to do, but I live next door to this residence, as well as my family. And I have concerns. The bus stop is in front of my home. There's a lot of children out there anyway, plus the traffic of that, and then the traffic of next door. Is there going to be security on the home? How will their business next door to my residence that I reside at every day, how will that affect me and my family? With people coming and going. With Alzheimer's, I cared for my father who passed away from that. Ambulances come. We had to have alarms on the home, on the bed, on everything for that disease, because every adult is different with that disease. I'm worried about my property value. We decided to remodel instead of move. So I just put thousands of dollars into my home. Is this going to affect that? Like I said, I commend it. I just don't feel it has a place in a residence next door to me and my family. Thank you.
Anybody else for public comment? Okay. I'll close public comment and bring that back up to the board again. All right. What for discussion on the board side? Anybody have anything to? Doesn't matter. Yes? Oops.
I probably shouldn't say this, but I'm going to. It was very disrespectful. I never said that this was a rubber stamp. I said we had to follow the rules and regulations that the state gave us, and we have to follow the rules. Never said we were a rubber stamp.
I guess I can start. I have just a couple things I want to say, and I'm going to start with the applicant. Visiting hours. What type of hours are set up for the visiting hours? Would there be any, or how's that set up? Good enough?
We have 8 to 5 for
8 to-
visiting hours. However, the visiting hours, 8 to 5, unless there's, special circumstances. Just close family and friends are permitted on the property.
Okay, 8 a.m. to 5 p.m., all right. And that,
Mr. and Mrs. Ford, I'm sorry. Can you guys step up to the microphone just so
Yeah.
it's recorded? Thank you.
okay, good point. I almost said that, but I thought, no, it's quiet in here. I apologize. Okay. And my next question, based somewhat on that, is parking from 8 to 5, how many visitors, including staff, would you anticipate seeing, and what would the parking situation be
On a daily basis,
on an average day?
on an average day, I would say probably 2 cars on a daily basis, the care workers and then one of us, in and out of the facility. If we have visitors, I would say maybe 1 visitor, and that wouldn't be on a daily basis. Not from what we've seen in facilities we do have facilities in our neighborhood, in Wishingwell neighborhood. There are other facilities and facilities that we looked at. Normally, the residents don't have daily visitors. Somebody might come on their birthday,
Mother's Day,
Yeah, something
Father's
like that.
Day,
Yeah.
Christmas.
and then we have the 2-car garage, which can hold 2 cars, and then the driveway.
can
which
hold 4
up to
cars.
4 cars.
So you're looking at parking for 6 vehicles in an anticipation, an average day of maybe 4. So parking on the street would not be an issue here. Okay? Those are the 2 questions that I had first and foremost. There might be others. Paul, you had something?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Another thing was mentioned, security. Do you have anything in place for security?
Currently, we do not. We are, from the state, we are allowed to put cameras in the home, in the common areas, not in any of the rooms, and then on the outside of the home. And if we take severe Alzheimer's patients, which that's not a plan currently, then we would have alarms on doors and inside the house and outside the house.
Okay, one more comment that I had looking at it, and you've heard what the public spoke today, and what they've said. Have you considered, or would you consider, if this was approved, a privacy fence around your rear yard, obviously, even the front yard? I don't know, what that would look like, but have you considered that?
Yes, we have considered that, and it's actually something we plan to do. We just haven't done it as of yet. We started this process in 2022, and the state has kind of dragged their feet for a long time, so we've, put a lot into it already. So once we get things going, we do plan to put a privacy fence.
Thank you.
Can I follow up on that?
Yes, sir.
You mentioned the security and the fence. If you had an Alzheimer's patient there, you would consider doing it. Wouldn't the state demand it or require it, or is it?
They have not required it. They did license us for Alzheimer's patients already without the alarms and the fence on there. So we are able to accept Alzheimer's patients. However, it's not in our plan to have any Alzheimer's patients at this point until we put that into place, because that's a safety issue for the patients and for us as well.
So I would have thought that the state would require it. I'm disappointed that they don't. I mean, can we say something about that?
Their license is tied to the state, not the township.
I would highly recommend, for your own safety, let alone your patient's safety. I mean, the own safety of running something like this, if somebody were to get out, the liability on you, I can't make it. Apparently, I'm sorry that the state doesn't to protect you, but I sure would, as a business owner, I sure would be paying attention to that.
Oh, absolutely. If we get Alzheimer's patients, that is in the plan.
Okay.
Mr. Chairman? Yeah, I have a similar concern. I mean, I realize, just commenting or following up on what Mr. Hoffman was saying, and Mr. Smith, basically, we don't have much leeway here. If you meet the requirements of our zoning ordinance and you get the approval from the state, to operate the home, you get the license, there really isn't much, I mean, we can't really say no. So we can make some suggestions, and, I appreciate the ones that have already been mentioned. I just have a comment, and I noticed, if I'm right, 3 or 4 of the beds are going to be on the second floor, is that correct? And then just 1 bed? Yeah. My concern is you've got people who are elderly, may have Alzheimer's or TBI, I'm concerned about them going up and down the stairs. Is that something you've considered? Do you have any way of kind of avoiding people tripping, falling down the stairs?
Yeah, we are licensed for ambulatory patients, so all of the patients that we have, even if they're like amputees, they have to be able to be mobile with assist, so they can have a one-person assist to get up and down the stairs. They can use a walker, but we can't take any patients who are fully handicapped or are not mobile, that are not able to get up and down the stairs.
And during the waking hours, how many staff are going to be on?
There's one direct care worker per 5 beds. However, one of us will be in and out at all times.
When you say in, yeah, I mean, that was my other concern. It seems like one staff may not be enough if you have 5 residents who, may need a high level of supervision or,
We can't take any patients that would need more than that.
Okay.
That's outlined in there as well. If they need more nursing care than what we can provide, we're not licensed to accept those patients. So we can only take patients who fit the criteria where one direct care worker would be sufficient for them.
Okay,
If
okay.
they needed more care than that, we're not permitted to have them in the home.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Questions from the board? Yes, Andy, sir, go ahead.
Thank you. Couple questions for the applicant and then for staff. So as part of the license that you included here as well, the capacity says 6, but you're saying 5?
Yes.
Okay, why would you say 6 why would the license say 6?
They license for up to, a small group home is up to 6 patients.
Okay.
So they can license for up to 6. Our license is only for 5 because we only have room for 5.
Then how do you go about, like, as far as the operations? You mentioned patients that fit the criteria of the 5-to-1 ratio. How do you go about the determination of intake? How do you go through your operations to validate whether somebody is a candidate for this location?
Well, we have a sheet that first will let us know if the patient, one, they got to be able to walk, they got to be able to go up and down the stairs safely. That's the most important rule. And we also have a nurse that goes in and asks other questions and help us determine that.
Okay.
So we go in and do an evaluation of each patient.
Each patient that will come to us.
Typically, how are they referred over to you?
They're referred to us by word of mouth, and they're also referred to us by the, DHS, Community Mental Health. We are on the board, on the committees, members of the committees there, so they refer. And then also the pharmacy that we use, they are on the board, so they submit our name to their facilities.
McLaren Case Management, also Genesis Case Management, and Hurley Case Management.
Okay. Is there any background checks that are performed? Because you had mentioned you had mentioned that one of the, and I think you had it as part of your operations plan, is nobody with a prior drug use or that. So how do you vet that out?
We get their medical history.
Okay.
We get a medical, I can't remember the medical term.
Essentially, it's a medical background then. Okay. This license, because this being a home, has a yard, neighbors, does the license extend to outside the boundaries of the home, to the property? Is it for the entire property, or is it just for the home itself? Does it contain just the building structure, or does it include the outside? So can patients say, want to go outside, go for a walk? Can they go out? Can they use the yard? How does the license extend to beyond the boundaries of the house?
They can use the yard. We have a patio out there. They can go out. They can go outside and sit. If they want to go out there to eat their dinner or lunch or something like that, they can go out on the property. And we do have a fence around our yard. It's not a privacy fence, so they can go out.
It's like a chain link, right? Like a chain link fence? Okay. So it does, so you would consider it extending out to the yard then? Is that correct? Okay. What about food service? These people are 24 hours, 7 days a week. Talk a little bit about how you go about that. How is that covered as part of their care there?
The direct care workers make the meals. We also have chefs that will bring in meals as well. They get 3 meals a day and snacks throughout the day.
So you have the same care worker that has the 5 patients is also prepping and preparing the food 3 times a day?
Yep.
Yeah.
Okay.
First shift does breakfast, second shift does lunch, and third shift does dinner.
Okay.
And that's
Um,
what most facilities do.
And then one other thing then is you mentioned ambulatory. You have ambulatory care as part of it. I assume, are these people that will, these patients, are those individuals that say, maybe a diabetic or something like that, let's just use that as an example, that need maybe regular care or need to be seen or dialysis or something like that? Would that be the type of patient that you would be housing?
We could, yes.
Okay, so as part of that, they're going to need transport. So it's very possible that on a daily basis, there'd be an ambulance in and out of this location? How often, let me rephrase it, I'm sorry. How often would an ambulance be this, like, say, on a weekly basis?
If we had a dialysis patient, if we receive one, it would be 3 times a week.
What about people that need therapy? What about, you said traumatic brain, you're not going to do in-house therapy, so how is that happen?
We do have in-house therapists if they choose to use
Okay.
our doctors, but if they choose to use their own, they will go to their appointments as they would if they lived at home. We don't have transport, so whoever would be taking them would pick them up and take them to their appointments. If they go to church on Sunday with families, so their family member would pick them up and
I was more concerned by the ambulance, right? So as a family member, you would hope they would come by and pick them up, right? And you hope that they would come visit. I'm not as concerned by the parking because you have the garage, you have a driveway. It's a public street. Park on the street. It's fine. I don't have as much of a concern there. What I'm,
They don't
I guess,
necessarily have to go by ambulance. It could be your ride. I have a couple of friends that get dialysis, and family members take them to.
how about just transport? How about general transport, non-family member? My ride, ambulance. How many times a week would you anticipate, with the range of patients that you have?
I would say possibly if we had a patient that was 3 times a week, then 3 times a week.
Okay.
Could be.
Okay, that's all I have. If I could, a couple questions for staff while I'm finishing off. So as part of this, I saw the pictures and it looks, the inside looks fine. I mean, I don't have an issue with it. Does anything beyond this require a building permit, ADA compliance, based on the use, based on the special use? That's a question for staff.
The only thing that would be separate would be if they decide to go to the privacy fence. That is a special extra permit on top of this today. That's handled through my office. Anything else, as far as ADA compliance, if it wasn't required by the state, it's not required.
Just asking.
And then if there is something, that a separate building permit would be required through the building department. Like if there was a ramp that was needed to
Ramp,
be put in.
something like that. We're talking separate permits, so let's, with the understanding that it may not end here.
Correct.
Okay, thank you. And then one last thing on, Mr. Hoffman, you had mentioned maybe we don't have as much guidelines over the aesthetics. I think we actually do, because it's a special land use, where we do have the standards that need to be met. And with thinking about this care, the patients extending to the outside, especially under the standards for all special land uses, one of the conditions is the special land use will be designed, constructed, operated, and maintained to be compatible with and not significantly alter the existing or intended character of the general vicinity in consideration of their environmental impacts, views, aesthetics, noise, vibration, glare, air quality, drainage, traffic, and property. So I think we have a little bit of latitude when it comes to if we want to put, I'm sorry, I think I didn't mean to single you out.
Thank you.
I want to get your.
I didn't say that we
I don't want to
needed.
get the rage.
I didn't say
off
that.
on here.
Yeah, I did
Well,
not
no, it was-
say that.
so I think we do have a little bit of latitude when it comes to if this operation extends to the outside, that we could require privacy fence. Based on my interpretation, unless staff or consultant have different opinions on that.
I agree.
Thank you. All set, Mr. Chairman.
Okay, thank you. Ms. Hugo?
My question is regarding the patients. You had indicated that the patients would have the opportunity to go outside and have dinner if they wanted to. So let's say, for example, you had one patient who wanted to go be outdoors. Who would be supervising, if you have one caregiver for 5 patients and you are in and out, if you're not there, who's supervising the person who's outside if you have 4 more patients inside?
The direct care worker will be in view of them, but they don't have to be outside with them to sit outside
Okay.
and eat dinner.
Okay,
We are not allowed to take any patients who are extreme behavior problems or have any mental disorders or anything like that. So,
okay.
I mean, they can go outside and sit and eat dinner without someone sitting right next to them.
Okay. My concern was because, you hear on the news and you read in the newspaper of individuals wandering away from the place.
Would not be allowed outside.
Okay, perfect.
Based on
Okay.
each, and that's written out in our business plan as well. We have like a 150-page business plan, and it goes by care. So, yeah, if a person needed a one-on-one, that would be a different case.
Okay, thank you.
Anybody else on this? Okay, I'm going to take a quick minute just to say one thing to I guess everybody in the room, Clint. I was on the township board from 2008 to 2016, very involved in this. And I took a couple of years. I stepped back after 2016, and then my in-laws sold their home in another township nearby, and they told me we sold it to someone who's going to make an adult foster care facility. And I'm like, what? I was shocked that the township, it wasn't Grand Blanc, would allow an adult foster care home in a residential neighborhood. So the first thing I did was went to our planner and said, hey, can you believe this? She said, yes, the state changed their law. It's state law now. The township, we can make sure the applicant crossed their T's and dots their I's, but if that's met, then it's allowed by state law. And I was kind of shocked by that. But I still have an additional relative that still lives in that same neighborhood. I visit at least once a week, sometimes twice a week. And every time I drive by that house, I see usually 1 car in the driveway, occasionally 2. And the homeowner that I visit says, don't even know they're there. Not a problem. So I was kind of surprised by that. So there's no signage. They're not allowed, a monument sign in front of the house that says so-and-so fostering like that. It's still, their old house looks just like it did when they lived there. If you were driving by the street, you couldn't tell. I wanted just to kind of address that, say, you guys, I'm not able to even tell. If I didn't know who bought that house, I wouldn't know what the facility even was. Second thing I want to mention, too, to the board and to residents is my mother recently started dialysis. She doesn't drive by her choice. The facility does dialysis, picks her up 3 times a week. They do it in a Dodge Caravan. You can't even, it's just a white Dodge Caravan that parks in the driveway, and you don't even notice additional traffic. So the relative I have that still lives in that neighborhood in an adjoining township, I was kind of surprised reaction is, yeah, nobody in the neighborhood has any problems. They don't see any unusual activity. There's no really additional traffic. There's not a lot of sirens and lights. So I just thought I'd share that. It's unrelated to this case, but that was my initial concern when I first heard that was approved. Was like, how could they allow this? But that's all been addressed. Second thing I have, and this is probably more for you, Jeremy, the issue one resident brought up with the sump pump drainage, that's more of just a general drainage ordinance, not related to this case. Has that been addressed? Are you aware of anything with that?
Like I said, when we started the proceedings here for this case, that's already been rectified by code enforcement.
So that's code enforcement's taking care of that.
Correct.
Okay, sorry, I didn't mean to repeat that then. Okay.
Can I say something about the sump pump?
You may,
as
yes.
well? So we moved into that house in 2017, and that sump pump line was already there. It had been there the entire time. We have not gotten a complaint about the sump pump until our neighbors found out about the facility.
Okay.
And we got several complaints that week. Never been a complaint before, the entire time that we've lived in the house. The sump pump line goes into our backyard. It does not go cross over into the neighbor's yard at all, but we did go over and move it because, you know, they were concerned. There was no water going into the neighbor's yard, the sump pump. We have a fence, so it didn't go over into the neighbor's yard at all, and it's always been, we did move it one time. We tried to run it out into the street like some of the other neighbors, but the line broke, so we put it back where it was when we moved there. Never had a complaint in all the years we lived there. Never had a complaint about the house not being maintained or anything until we posted on Facebook that we were state licensed. And then all of a sudden, we got multiple complaints.
Jeremy, everything's within code on that then, right now?
Yes, sir.
Thank you. Thank you, that's my concern. Okay. Any other questions? Questions? Jeremy, do you have anything to say before you wrap this up, or are we ready for a vote?
I'm content.
Okay. All right.
Actually, I'll bring up,
Yes.
do we have, can we request the fence or not?
You have the right to make conditions. You can request them, yes.
I can request.
Within the proximity of normal regulations. I wouldn't say that you would say that they had to put on, you know, a second story onto this thing or whatever, but a fence for privacy is well within your means.
So a request is a request. I can't say I'm not going to vote for this unless you do this, is what you're saying. It's not a demand. All I can do is request.
It's a condition.
It's a condition.
So I can.
You can say no, yeah.
Okay.
Is that going to hold up? No? It's not going to hold up. Okay,
This
thanks.
is going to go to the township board after
No, this is
the
it.
final decision.
No, this is it.
Yep, okay, that's what I was thinking too. Only thing we could,
I'm not trying to be mean to you. I'm really not. But the fact of the matter is, to further go above and beyond in what I think has been a good neighbor, as you said, I don't, so far, for the safety of your business, for the safety of everything, those things, I think that would be an awfully great thing for you to do for your business. That's all I'll say.
It is in our plan, and we already have a quote and everything to get it going.
to get it fenced in,
Yes.
so that's something you're
Yes.
looking into and plan
We
to
just had to
do.
get all this stuff situated first and meet all the state requirements.
Okay, thank you. All right, and the trash issue's been resolved, so I think that's answered all of my questions, so. No further discussion? Care to make a motion? Oh, sorry.
Make a motion, go ahead.
No, don't you have to close public hearing?
Oh, I'm sorry, probably do.
Did he?
I made a note at 7.
Oh, I'm sorry. Okay, sorry.
As I did mention it, but I didn't ask for a motion.
So it was opened at 7:25 and closed at 7:35.
Okay, thank you.
All right. Having said that,
All right. Mr. Chairman, I'll make a motion to approve special land use case 24-0001, 5079 Spinning Wheel Drive, Adult Foster Care Facility in R3 zoning, single-family residential district, with the condition that the applicant receives a permit from the township and installs privacy fence in accordance with the township standards.
that motion be okay? You see anything wrong with that? Okay.
Do you want a time limit on that?
Can we put a time limit prior to operation?
That's, I would say probably not. If they already say they have quotes and they're gonna do it, I mean, it's,
When did you plan on operating, if everything went well tonight?
As soon as possible.
Okay, so I would thank you for that, and I'll put a stipulation, continue on with the condition, with the stipulation that the fence be installed within a 30-day period.
That's going to be tough.
I was gonna say,
Spring, they might.
60-day period.
6 months, I think would,
If you want to operate and you want to go, and they already have
that's
quotes.
fine. That's fine.
I don't know, I think I'd be more comfortable about 90 days myself, because I know how construction is right now and getting contractors and stuff, so.
Let's put a 90-day period then. 90 day?
90 days, sounds more reasonable to me. Okay. We have a motion on the seconds or suggestions for revision?
Maybe one suggestion is that the applicant, if they run into some obstacles and are not able to, complete the fence, that they can come back before the planning commission and, either ask for more time or whatever.
I would even maybe amend that a little more and just let them go to Jeremy.
Staff.
Let Jeremy's office deal it, or staff deal with it if there's any issues beyond that.
Sure.
That would save them from having to wait till the next meeting. And it would also allow your office to manage that, and you're comfortable with that.
I'm fine with that if
great.
if
Mr. Andre, amend?
it's something we can
Amend.
do,
Amend to
Legally.
90-day period with any extension to be coordinated with staff.
That sounds
Okay,
good to
that'll
me.
take care, yeah.
Take care of
that'll
everybody?
Take care of it.
Okay. You'll support? Okay, support by Sarah Hugo. Okay. We have a motion on the floor for approval of special land use 24001. Do we have any, all in favor?
Oh, roll call.
Oh, this is a roll call? Okay. Start, Mr. Andre.
I approve.
Ms. Hugo?
Yes.
Dolores?
Yes.
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 Mr. Bush?
Yes.
Myself, yes. Okay. Motion passes. Thank you very much. Let's see, we will move on to our agenda now. You want to move to item C, zoning
Yes.
case 674C?
Yes.
Or L, I'm sorry.
74L, yes.
Yep, public hearing, minimum parking requirements.
Me to go over it?
You're welcome to leave if you want to. Don't feel you have to stay. I don't. If you want to stay, you can, obviously, but it won't be anything exciting, I promise.
Well, come on, parking spaces isn't
Talking
fun.
about parking spaces.
Yeah.
Unless you're Commissioner Hoffman. Unless you're Commissioner Hoffman, who's really interested in the parking space.
Yes, I'm
as
very
you
interested
stated
in
earlier.
parking. Very interested in parking.
That'd be by the township board. That's not.
Yeah, it's not something we would have to do.
I'm on the township board,
Last I heard.
but I have not been I've been out on disability. This is my first meeting since November, so.
Last I heard, some residents were starting the petition process, but that's all I heard. So. I know roads are bad.
I mean, I remember.
So bad. Thank you. You too, thank you.
Yeah, I know.
Hey, room's kind of cleared up a little bit, so you want to start us off, Jeremy, or?
I'll let Andy. Andy's gonna handle this one.
Yeah, I'll go ahead. The proposed parking amendment has been what you've kind of discussed and seen at two previous meetings. We are proposing the schedule, essentially, the numerical schedule exactly as is at the last meeting. So just giving people a little bit more flexibility to not have the township require so much parking for those industrial uses. It just kind of lowers that minimum, lowers that burden on the applicant a little bit so that they can provide what they think is enough, essentially, or more so what they think is enough rather than a high threshold.
Rather than per square footage, based
Yep.
on usage. More so
Yep.
as we discussed, yep.
Exactly. So, with that being said, I know there were a few comments from the planning commission at that meeting about just ensuring that, essentially ensuring that somebody doesn't try to kind of take advantage of the fact that we're providing these lower minimums based on things like employees and whatnot. So we did add a little bit of text to hopefully strengthen that a little bit. We just want to make sure that in those unique circumstances that someone's not going to try to get away with, asking for just 16 parking spaces and a disaster strikes. So that text is provided in that proposed provision R, so that enforcement of parking deficit. So pretty much what we're doing with that is just allowing, if there's an observed and really tangible deficit that's consistently presented itself, then the planning and zoning administrator could compel the applicant to come back before you for a site plan review. So we just tried to provide something for that protection, because I know at least two of you, I think, commented about just being a little fearful about the event that someone takes advantage of it, of the lower threshold.
Questions? I'll wait for Jeremy to come back. No.
You can open the public hearing.
Yep, you can open up.
Okay, anybody wish to address the, seeing no one present, we'll close public hearing.
Opened at 8:05 and closed at 8:06.
5 and 30 seconds. All right. So, questions or discussion from the board? I think it answered all of the questions I had.
Ready for a motion? I'm ready.
I don't know if Jeremy got any public comment, so you just might want to.
Okay, in case he had any.
I mean, that might be just an emergent, just in case he did, I suppose.
He would have put it in
I would have
there.
included it if you.
I thought so.
Okay.
Well, thank you very much for the work that you and your
Oh,
staff put into it. It's
no worries.
Chairman, if
glad
you're
to
ready
see
for
this
a
come together.
motion,
Yep.
I would motion that we recommend approval to the township board for the minimum parking requirement zoning amendment in front of us today.
Okay,
I'll second that.
all right, we got a motion, Mr. Bush, a second, Mr. Huffman. I don't know if this requires a roll call vote or not.
Probably, it's an
I was just
action.
gonna say, I'm gonna do one just in case, okay? So, we have a motion on the floor, and we have a second. Mr. Ng?
Yes.
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 And myself, yes. Okay, motion passes.
All right.
Motion to adjourn?
See how much work gets done when he's not here.
Yeah, see,
Approved as presented, I'm assuming?
They went
Okay.
for it as presented.
Perfect.
Okay.
Excellent. I'm good with it. Perfect. I like it. Love it.
Brings us to item D, text amendment discussion.
C, B, Tech Village zoning ordinance.
Oh, we moved B to C here, I'm sorry. Tech Village, so, yep, you're wrong there. Tech Village zoning ordinance changes.
So in front of you, you've got a memorandum from Giffords Webster. Andy's here for any questions. You also have a proposed site plan page in front of you showing exactly kind of where some of the changes are coming from. The issue is that we met with the Genesee County Road Commission the other day, and all of, I don't want to say all of, but a lot of the design items that are built into the zoning ordinance, bioswales and things of that sort, trees. In order, the bottom line is this was always touted to be a public road. So in order for this to be taken over as a public road, Genesee County Road Commission has very strict standards, and they are strict. So for them to take this over, the changes that you see in front of you may have to be done. Now, there's also a blurb in our zoning ordinance that says, to the effect of, where Genesee County Road Commission requires deviations from these standards, such deviations may be implemented without a variance. It may be easier to do this and correct them as we're going now before we get any end users in there, so that way they can look at the zoning ordinance and I can hand them and go, this is what you have to do. The main road from all the way from Baldwin that goes all the way through the site that goes to Saginaw is going to be a public road. That is, there's no option in that. The secondary roads are going to be private, part of the master deed, can still have these design elements in it. It may not be as grand as what we've seen on all the conceptual plans. I know Jill did a presentation for y'all a month or so, 2 months ago, kind of recapping and refreshing your memory on what this Tech Village is all about. Well, the Road Commission pretty much shot a lot of that in the foot. And that's the long and short of it. We were going to go through this more today, but we don't have, I thought a master plan was coming in the next month, so I want to have this done and started before the master plan was coming. We're not at that point yet. So you have the information. You have what the changes may look like. This may not be it. It may be modified. There may be more, there may be less. We don't know yet. Road Commission hasn't completely signed off on the road yet. The master plan isn't set yet. So just to give you an idea of what you're going to see in the future is what you have today.
So are we definite that sorry, Mr. Bush, go ahead. Sorry.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. The only comment I have is I'm looking at this sheet here that's got both pictures on it. One says public road, and the other one says private. So the public road I'm looking at, both of these plans have a 12-foot lane. The public road, after the 12 feet, just has a 2-foot concrete curb and gutter. The private one has a 2-foot wide curb and gutter, but we ask for a 5-foot shoulder additionally. So if we can't have a 5-foot shoulder, which is what I'm hearing from Jeremy and the Road Commission, after that, we have 15 feet, 5 foot for street trees and lighting and a 5-foot, 10-foot sidewalk and streetscape area. The public one has a 10-foot shared use path. Or no, excuse me, they have 15 feet. We have 25. So once we get outside of the Road Commission's curb and gutter, who's to say we can't have 25 instead of 15 anyway? Because that would not be up to them. We're giving them what they ask for. The only thing we lose is that 5-foot shoulder on both sides, but we still achieve everything else. And I don't think they can say anything about it.
You're correct to a point. The bioswales affect correct me down the road if I'm wrong. Don't hold me to this, but the undertone of this meeting was the bioswales were an issue because there would be curb cuts out of their curb because they were going to maintain back a curb.
After that, we can do what we
After that,
want.
But then the water's not going to get to it anyways because there's curbing in it. So you could use them as,
I'm just saying, we
You
can
could
get,
have-
we can still get what we want.
you could
In my
have
opinion.
bioswales in there, but they're not going to be used in the same way as what they would be if they were on the road.
Well, yeah, but even this doesn't say bioswale. It says 10-foot sidewalk, street furniture area.
Well, we're gonna,
And
they
it says
did
5-foot
say,
area for street trees. That's theirs.
that is gonna happen. The 10-foot wide path is
We
going to
have
happen.
15 feet where they have 5 for streetscape and trees. Once we get by the curb and gutter, we can do what we want. 15
Well-
feet, 5 feet, 20 feet.
Right, but if you see the page that I put in front of you that wasn't in your packet,
This one.
the one pager.
This,
If you see here, that road has moved significantly north. Basically, just west of where that shaded area is, this the wetland, they have pushed that to the north, and there's no construction on the north side. So this is,
no, yeah, but that's wrong. Yeah, it's supposed to be private. One's, yeah, 'cause they both say public. And I think one's supposed to be private.
so there is room, but there's not going to be as much room. It's 100-foot non-build buffer, no building buffer. So we can put things in there. I'm not saying we're not going to do that. I'm just saying
So who moved the road?
the developer.
Okay, so the developer saw what we wanted and decided, we're not gonna do that and move the road. Is that a correct statement?
As compared to what
I'm just saying,
the
the
conceptual plan
developer
is?
seen what we wanted and they just said, nah, we're gonna move the road. We're not
You're
gonna
referring
do
to the
that."
conceptual plan, yes?
Yes,
Yes, you're correct.
okay. So already the developer's just spitting on us,
Well,
for lack of better terms.
in my opinion, this is just my opinion, so this, you can take it for what it's worth. If you look at the conceptual drawing, there was going to be parking lots backing up to the preserves that's north of this property. We've seen issues in the past where residents are not happy with commercial butting up to their properties. In my opinion, this alleviates a lot of that. So yes, the conceptual is different than the original, what we are seeing in front of you is different than the original conception, but for building-wise and compatibility-wise for the surrounding properties, I think it alleviates a lot of that stress. And headache.
Personally, Jeremy, I think that they moved it north so they could maximize their buildable area. They can build less because if it's less area there to build on. So they're maximizing it, and I just got a gut feeling that this thing's gonna look 180 degrees from what we've shown the community. And that scares me. We've been toting this technology village for years. And
The township is aware of that. We know, we understand.
And
The developer has been told if this deviates too far, this won't be acceptable. And we're flirting on that line.
I would say so.
So they're fully aware of our concerns.
Thank you.
Unit 7 on the map, is that, currently, there's a building there now that have access off Saginaw Road.
I think at one time there was a house. I don't think that's there anymore.
Okay. I do notice that that would not have access from the,
No, the intention is that none of these properties, well, I'm not gonna say that statement, never mind. The original conceptual drawing showed all the secondary roads coming off of that main road that meanders through the property with no other deviations off Saginaw or Baldwin.
so with this plan, it looks like we've got one property that's gonna have isolated to Saginaw Street.
No, they'll have the secondary roads will go through that. It'll be master deeded. They'll have shared parking agreements, shared driveway agreements. Yeah, so that's forthcoming as well.
That answers that question.
Yep.
Thank you. Yes.
Why does it have to be a public road?
Why? Funding.
Developer.
The township does not own and maintain any roads in the township. That's literally the sole purpose of why this is being discussed as is.
And you mentioned there's still some questions from the county. Is the county gonna want?
Yeah, we're not done discussing things with the county yet because we just had, like I said, it was last week or 2 weeks ago, we had a sit down with them. Once this master plan is final, before you see it, road commission will see it to make sure that they're gonna see it. They're at least gonna see something to the effect of, they're gonna get their hands on it, get eyes on it, give us some kind of review before you guys see it, because I don't wanna go through and have to change it 2-3 times. You know, let's get the master plan, let's get it set, everybody's happy with it, and away we go.
You're not looking for a motion tonight then?
No, this is just information tonight. We were gonna discuss it and potentially have it set up for a public hearing for next meeting, but we're not there yet. So just information to ponder. You're gonna see something similar in the future, but I don't know to what extent.
Okay.
Go ahead, Mr. Chairman.
If I may, Mr. Chair, just anything you would like to see from Jill and myself, too, I guess, is helpful for how we prepare for next meeting, and providing you any kind of information or any kind of supplements or anything like that, just with us being a little bit involved in that throughout history, I suppose.
I guess, yeah, clarification on what the setbacks and stuff would be and the requirements, kind of like per about Mr. Bushman who would have the authority to set those boundaries? Would that be us?
Say that again.
The setback requirements that Paul was referring to, where the counties are different than the townships and what we discussed with the original concept?
So the setbacks are built into the zoning ordinance, but like I said, the road commission has said they're only gonna do back a curb to back a curb. That's their lane, essentially. And anything outside of that is on
We
us.
can make it as big as we want.
Right, and we could still
Have it
maintain
just,
what we had.
the only difference that I saw was the 5-foot shoulders.
Right.
Genesee County won't let us have.
Want some clarification on that? Okay.
Well, it was touted to have bike lanes throughout. Road commission said absolutely not.
We'll do that anywhere.
You can stripe it, you can put a stripe on it, but you can't put designation to say, with a logo, you can't say bike path, you can't have a logo, you can't have anything designating that.
Yes.
You were mentioning about how this isn't what we showed to the public. I see the road commission changing it more than the applicant.
You can't have bike paths anyway.
Well, so I'm,
Well, but you can have a 10-foot, 15-foot wide path that's a multi-use path.
But that's outside the curb.
Correct.
Is what I'm saying.
Yeah.
The road commission outside that curb showed 15 feet where we showed 25. That was my point. They dummied it down by 10 feet aside.
who did?
Apparently whoever did the new conceptual plan, probably the developer, I'm guessing.
Row engineers working with the developer. But well, we'll have to look at that, because some of that might have been predicated on what was recorded by the road commission.
Yeah, I think the road commission has more involved in this and what the applicant's doing than,
They're dictating trees, they're dictating,
He moved it north so they could maximize their build.
well, but as you said.
That's
move-
what developers do.
Which is fine. Also, I mean, as I could see this, moving it north, just as you said, instead of having parking lots in people's backyard, now they've got.
A car driving down the road.
you
They've got a
don't
walking
see it.
path, they've got a multi-use path.
It's the street, the street's a buffer, especially at night. So anyway, I don't see it. I think there's more than the applicant trying to get away with something here. I said more than, I didn't say,
appreciate
yeah,
that.
I just.
I don't think the applicant really probably would fight. If I was in their shoes, I wouldn't fight and go, I'd go along with it too. I would. But I think this was envisioned, before it was on the planning commission. I
agree.
Followed it very closely. It was envisioned as something different. And I think at one of our past meetings, public hearing, we heard one citizen that said, we don't want to see this turn into another industrial park. It's turning into another industrial.
Yep, absolutely.
Well, and like I said, it was told to them if they're trying to accomplish what Enterprise Park is,
Yeah.
that's not okay, and that's not the vision, and that won't happen.
This is the start of it. I can see it coming. This is my business. I see it coming. This is where it's going to go. What I would think is, why not think outside the box a little bit? If the road commission is only going to carry jurisdiction, I know how they are. They are very protective of their right of way, from right of way to right of way typically. But if they're going to do maintenance from curb to curb, what about the developer entering into a maintenance agreement with the road commission for everything outside of that? What about that, a license agreement that the developer has responsibilities from curb outside? That is wholly responsible. We enter into development agreements all the time from a township level with developers to say, you're going to be held to these standards. I don't see why that couldn't be the case here.
You're saying keeping the original concept, but have an agreement with the road commission? Is that what you're?
Wouldn't it be between the road commission and the developer? That they would ultimately maintain responsibility. Development agreements occur everywhere. That's very standard practice between municipalities and jurisdictions with developers. I see that as a great application to this point. I find it comical. I'm like getting furious right now because we hear about we want bioswales and we want rain gardens. I was a reluctant person to them. I love them now. I think they're great. I really do. I look to incorporate them in every development that I possibly can. This would have had it, except, that's not our standard. It's a Genesee County Drain Commission standard, but it's not a road commission standard? Come on, get together, work it out. This is a special case. You got one shot at this. Work it out. I wouldn't give up so easily.
And I'm not saying that we are, I'm just saying that there's other.
Well, if you have Row Engineering did I hear that correctly? Row Engineering is working directly for the developer as well?
Yes.
Okay, we have the township engineer working for the developer.
Yes.
Okay, there's a problem.
Yeah, big problem.
There's a problem.
Yeah, I agree with that. I know some of the road changes, and maybe,
I
I don't.
totally understand.
The road commission has certain requirements and stuff for curves and stuff and the types of angles, if I'm not mistaken.
Materials,
They will-
material types.
Material, right, thickness, so they have some requirements they're gonna demand. Personally like the idea of an industrial park, and I get everybody's objection, and I'm not ready to make a motion on this at all, anything like that too, nor is the township. But, a lot of developments I've been into where the roads are not maintained by the county, roads are crap.
The roads that are maintained by the county are crap anyways, so.
So, they're worse.
That's on record, right? So
Yeah, they're worse, so I'm kind of, I'd like to see it go
All
to
of
the county.
Andy's
'cause
projects are denied from here on.
But
I'm going scorched earth tonight, so let's go.
I could think of a couple of businesses that I have to visit frequently that are on private industrial complex roads where I'm sorry, I have to apologize to my car. You know, the roads are terrible.
Sorry, car.
My road's amazing.
Mine's the worst in the township.
Any other discussion on this then?
I think we've everybody said their piece. I mean, it's like I said, it's an ongoing thing. It's not done yet. We're working on it. Like I said, I'll a suggestion I had in maybe the planning commission and the township board and the developers and everybody involved, maybe even road commission. We all have a powwow meeting and everybody get in the room and kind of talk this out and work it out. I don't know if that's possible. I don't know if anybody's going to agree to that, but that's a suggestion that I've made. I don't know where it'll go from there, but it is what it is.
Okay.
Ongoing.
All right, thank you. All right, so. Nothing further on that, okay. Any committee reports or?
We got one, so item D, we have text amendment discussions. We were gonna talk about landscaping, but, Mr. Yancho is not here. And Mr. Yancho and, Giffords Webster, working with Jill and Andy, have been working on this tirelessly to try and get this, as we mentioned before, a bunch of us went to the fall conference last year, and there was a lot of good information on plantings and landscaping and things of that sort. So we're working through that. It's not complete yet. We had a rough draft, but I think Mr. Yancho and Andy and Jill wanted to meet at least one more time before we brought it before the whole board.
So that'll go next.
Yeah, and to be quite honest, I haven't even met with Mr. Yancho yet about it. So I think we're just gonna, Jill and I need to try to schedule just a call with him and just see what, vet his mind on kind of some of our early ideas.
Okay. Yep. So no further discussion on that, and that'll be forthcoming, okay? Any committee reports?
I have none. Well, do I go? Yeah, if you want, do you want to?
I can.
Go ahead.
We had site plan review this evening. We had two site plans, both were preliminary approved. One was for a brand-new DPW Grand Blanc Fire Station Number 1 on Dort Highway where the old playland is. We preliminary approved that. And the other one was, funny, we have the Tech Village discussion, the Gateway Apartments that were built some years ago on Baldwin Road. On Baldwin Road near Saginaw. And they came in with phase 2, and they're not gonna be apartments, they're gonna be attached townhouses. It's less dense, so they came in, we basically gave them preliminary approval. They had approval before, and they came in with less density.
Less dense than was even
So
approved, so that's a step in the right direction.
Yeah, step in the right direction, it's two separate entities now instead of one. And we gave them floor plans, elevations of the facades of the apartments, and said we'd like it to, kind of be as nice as this. And there are some standards for brick in the Holly Road Baldwin corridor standards that were made back in 1998 by McKenna. So they're following those standards.
Following all the standards and meeting,
Yes.
okay, no objection,
And that was preliminary approved also.
okay?
You said they're townhouses, not apartments?
There'll be their
Attached townhouses, yes.
townhouse condos.
And they have that common wall that we talked about, and they have the divide.
The proper offset.
Real question, for rent or for purchase?
Rent.
For rent.
Somebody down here say both.
No, I said that was the question I was going to ask. Perfect, yeah.
Hold that question, okay. Any other further reports on anything?
Nope.
No? Okay. Further discussion or anything, questions on that, Mr. Bush? All right. Any other business to address tonight, Jeremy, or?
Not that I can think of. I don't have any current site plans sitting on my desk at this moment that are waiting for you folks, so we may or may not have a May meeting. If something comes up, if we can work through the landscaping, that might be pushed to June. There's no sense in coming in talking about one thing. I mean, it'll be, well,
Yeah.
we might want to, because that might be a lengthy discussion. I don't know, we'll see. We may or may not have a May meeting, so just a heads up.
I was about to say that shouldn't be a long conversation, but maybe I'm,
It could be a very lengthy conversation.
like, yeah, sure.
Mr. Yancho is very passionate about landscaping.
He is.
so
Yes.
And
And he knows-
that's great, because
I love
God bless him, because
Keep it with.
that's fine. He keeps everything, yep.
brings knowledge.
He brings an extensive amount of knowledge for that, so, yeah, if all of our ordinances are wrong on that, and we're doing things wrong, by all means, it needs to be changed, so.
Yeah, okay. Appreciate that, okay. With no other business on the table, take a motion to adjourn tonight's meeting at 8:31 PM.
I'll make the
You'll
motion.
make the motion to adjourn. Okay, I'll second that. Okay. Motion to adjourn, all in favor?
Bye.
Done. 8:31 PM, thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, everyone.